Hey everyone, and welcome to this special Christmas Day episode of Time with Tim. I'm Andy Carlson, and today's episode is going to be a little different. We know that for many people, Christmas doesn't always feel magical. Sometimes it's a reminder of who isn't here anymore, or of the loneliness, or even the chaos that can come with family gatherings. So this year, we wanted to create something for you. You'll hear from several members of Tim's team as they share what's made this time of year difficult for them, and how they found ways to create connection, community, and hope in their lives, sometimes with the families they've chosen along the way. And later in the episode, there's a special surprise, a heartfelt message from some familiar voices who mean a lot to all of us. Wherever you are today, may you feel a quiet sense of belonging. We hope this reminds you that you're not alone. There's a place for you here. To start things off, I wanted to have a conversation with someone who's been such a steady, thoughtful voice in our community. Her cheerful, welcoming energy is often the first thing people experience when they join Tim's Lift program. Nicole, joining from Canada. Happy holidays, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Happy holidays, Andy, and everybody else.
How are you doing today?
I'm well. I love this time of year. I'm excited and nervous all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you're willing to do this with me today. And I know you've walked through many seasons of growth and change. And so I know that holidays can bring up a lot. There's tender memories and also meaningful moments. And so I just wanted to start by asking you what losses, whether people, places, or dreams, have made this season tender for you.
Oh, goodness. Well, I remember growing up, Christmases were always elaborate with 17 plus people. So I remember, I guess, one of the first losses is because I'm much younger than my siblings, is just like that loss of that big group because of families growing, sister-in-laws and extended families needing to separate that Christmas time to not always, being all together all the time. And then I think I was 17 when I lost my grandfather, and he was like the cornerstone of Christmas. He loved Christmas. And then a year later, we sold the farm where Christmas was a big thing at the farm. And 3 months after I graduated high school, we had to move away from the farm. So that was that loss of like, where are we going to have those fun farm Christmases? And yeah, and then into my recent years, I guess 2023 was the first Christmas without my father. So that was a tough Christmas as well, because Dad was huge on family gatherings and Christmas.
And so there's kind of a lot of change that's happened for you, like the big celebrations, people,
Mhm.
locations. Will you be willing to talk with us kind of like maybe how the last few years have been without your father?
Yeah. So the first Christmas was probably, of course, the hardest after you lose a family member. And it was, yeah, just trying to manage my own grief and the fact that Dad wasn't there to have, those moments where he made sure we were all, had food and if we were happy and if everything was okay, where my mom was, of course, struggling with the loss of her husband. That, yeah, it was a lot of having to put almost, I would say, like my own emotions behind myself because I was
Mm.
wanting to make sure my mom was okay. My, it was only, I think, the third Christmas with my own new family, my husband and my stepdaughter. So I didn't want to be an emotional wreck, which I know I could have been if I needed to, but I just had those parts of me that wanted to be strong for everybody else, probably.
Yeah. So I can hear there's a lot of grief. Could I ask as you were doing that, what did you do for kind of for your own support or your own well-being? Like I heard you say you were strong for everybody else. Like how did you stay strong for yourself?
I think I would just have my moments of reflections of just sharing those tender thoughts of the happy times at Christmas, and just it brought up happy emotions, but sad because it was that loss. But to take care of myself was just talking about it to my own partner, but also if I needed to reach out to my support system, that I had people that were always there and available to help me work through those emotions.
And, kind of with that, like that loss is still kind of recent. Like, how is that resonating for you this year?
Oh, I think because this year I'm a new grandmother. So, um, my stepdaughter had a baby 3 months ago. So she just turned 3 months. It's tough because I always wanted to have my both parents see that grandchild, right? So that's a
Mm.
tough part for me this year. Is there's a lot of excitement and warmth and a new little baby in the family, but my dad not there to see it, and he was always big on family and grandchildren.
Well, let me ask you, Nicole, like, what kind of traditions or moments make this time of year meaningful for you now, with the life that you are living today?
Oh, meaningful. Oh my goodness. Like, December 24th is a new celebration for me, just the 5th Christmas with my newer family, right? To just have that stepmom role where I get to cook and I get to make sure everyone else is fed, like carrying on that tradition from my own parents, how they always had a warm household at Christmas, and more the merrier, right? Where even though it's only like down to like 5 or 6 people now when it's Christmas Eve, but Christmas Day is still that huge celebration. My brother's with 17 people because all the extended family and sister-in-law's parents get together. And so that's beautiful because I still get that little girl fix where I get to have the big family function and games and all of that. And then we do a yearly tradition with our Canadian weather. Can be really cold, but we do a sleigh ride on Boxing Day where we all get together and go into it's called Bird's Hill, and they have I was going to say cows. They have horses who pull the sleigh, and it's a beautiful celebration. You get to have a hot dog roast after, hot chocolate, and warm up.
Mm.
Yeah.
That sounds like such like a beautiful, like traditional Christmas, the sleigh and the hot chocolate. And I like to, what I heard you say here, kind of like it sounds that you're now creating this, like the cooking, feeding, creating this warm household that it's coming, it's that you're a part of the creation rather than just a participant in the season.
Yeah. Yeah, that was huge for me because I was always the one who was getting fed, right? And being the youngest in the family, it's like, go do something else. You're in the way in the kitchen. But now I feel like, okay, I can give back now, and happy to be that person that's doing for others that always got done for me.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah, that's really beautiful. Let
Mhm.
me ask if there's anything that you would like to offer our listeners or leave our listeners, something about like maybe like hope or comfort or how you found comfort or how you've moved into creating comfort. Um, is there anything you'd like to share with them?
Just as my own healing journey, and especially that inner child work, like there's that part of our inner child from a young age that had some good parts of Christmas, to hold those parts alive, like whether it's like a Christmas song. So for me, I don't know
Mm,
if you know the Boney M, but that was a very popular thing in our household, and it's 80s, 90s Christmas carols, but just hearing that one particular song from them just brings that warmth. So finding those type of traditions is just that, yeah, just that, because it can be tough time for Christmas for a lot of people going through grief and just maybe don't have a lot of family, that there's always, yeah, there's connection where we need it the most, that we just have to find the connection that we need during those difficult times.
mm. And I love that too, like the uh, kind of checking in with the inner child and
Mm.
finding what this like, what little Nicole wants or what little Nicole enjoys. And I don't know Boney M off the top. I'm sure if I heard it, I might recognize it. Is that Canadian? Is that regional, or is that something that I as an American should know as well?
I don't know, but it's like, I think there's 4 in the band and, yeah, I could send you a video, Andy, because it's as soon as you hear the song, it sticks in your head and then you don't wanna hear it again till next Christmas season because you know how Christmas carols get overplayed from
Mm,
November 12th
mhm.
right till Christmas Day, but every time I hear that one song, it just brings you right back to that even the smells come back, right? Because of
Oh,
that
really? Okay.
memory of the song even.
Yeah, yeah. Well, who for you, when do you start listening to Christmas music? Are you oh, you have I forget Canadians have Thanksgiving um about like 6 weeks in front of Americans, and so like I think for us like things really start to kick into overdrive after our Thanksgiving at the end of November. Um what's the timing for you guys there?
For me, I know it's everyone's different, but in my family is always November 12th on. Uh,
Mm,
just because Remembrance Day is November 11th, so we don't normally decorate or listen to Christmas carols before November 12th, and that's when
okay.
the celebration starts and all of that, and yeah, Christmas baking too.
Mm. That's
Mhm.
interesting. You know, the more I know about Canadians, it's like every important holiday, Independence Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you guys find a way to start celebrating before we do. And so it sounds like you guys have a little bit longer runway before Christmas than we do here in the States.
Yeah, we extend our fall celebration, so all the pumpkin spice and the pumpkin pie goes right into mid-November for us
Mm,
and enjoying fall because sometimes we got a nice fall, sometimes we have winter too early and before it's winter.
yeah, yeah. So you've mentioned like the pumpkin pie, pumpkin spice, hot chocolate. Like, do you have any favorite Christmas foods, favorite Christmas meals?
Ooh. Well, I grew up in a French family, so my mom and my mère, they always used to make, like, it's called tourtière, it's a meat pie and then meat buns and sucre à la crème, it's like a soft fudge that's a lot of brown sugar and butter, but you would have it either on a piece of toast or, yeah, just a fresh piece of baguette, and you'd put this amazing homemade caramel sauce on, and
Mm.
those are all things I remember from we'd get at Christmas time, and it would just yeah, amazing memories.
Yeah, yeah, those I can kind of
Mhm.
smell it and taste it as you're describing it. They all sound really good. Well, this is really beautiful, Nicole, and I love how you found, you know, your own ways to stay connected, even in the midst of change and continuing change in
Mhm.
your family. And I was wondering if there's any final thing you wanna leave with people before we move on here.
Well, I just wanna wish everyone a happy holiday season, and I know loneliness can be, heavy on a lot of folks this time of year, and grief if you've lost loved ones, but to know that you're not alone and, um, this beautiful, uh, family of, Tim Fletcher Company is always here to be there for us when sometimes we don't have that connection we need during the holiday season.
Mm. Well, thank you, Nicole, for being here with us today and for sharing this time with us and your message. It was really beautiful. And I
Thank
want
you,
to
and
wish you a peaceful and meaningful holiday as well. And so hope you have happy holidays and a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you.
thank you, and you too, Andy.
Next, I'm joined by Sandra, connecting with us from Canada. Sandra originally grew up in Cuba, and she brings such a warm, grounded presence to everything she does. I've had the privilege of working closely with her as a facilitator, and from the beginning, I've been struck by her calm and her clarity, the way she helps people feel safe enough to be real. Hey, Sandra, it's great to have you here. Happy holidays.
Oh, thank you, Andy. Likewise, is always a pleasure for me to like get all the excitement from you and all that energy that you bring to the table. So it's
Mm.
like I feel like we just like should grab a cup of coffee and cuddle in our couches and start talking. That's the energy that I
I would love that. I'd love to sit down and chat with you more. I love your sweater. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you. You want to hear the story about it? There's always a story about everything I have.
I would love to know the story about your sweater.
So this sweater was one of the few things I was able to bring home from Cuba. And it was given to my dad by his grandma when he was 10 years old. And he gave it to me when I was 10 years old and still fits. I don't know what that says about me, but I wear it every Christmas. Is my piece of, like, home or vintage, or that element of feeling like the nostalgia. That is the word I'm looking for.
I like that, the nostalgia. It looks like you've taken very, very good care of it as well.
Yes, because I only wear it Christmas Day. So it's
True,
like,
true. I suppose if it's one day a year, yeah.
yeah, I save it for that special occasion. Something I do for myself.
Well, would you be willing to chat about, kind of growing up in like very different worlds, having grown up in Cuba and now you're living in Canada? Would you share what life was like, what Christmas was like for you when you were a child growing up?
I would say Cuba, after the exchange to from before to communism, that sort of shifted the way we saw Christmas in Cuba, because it's considered a religious holiday and we're not allowed to have any religion in Cuba. So Christmas was, um, it felt a little underground for us. And it was more recognized sort of as a Thanksgiving level, that people would be like, you can have a family meal. And always, it felt to me growing up, and this is just my perception as a little kid, that it was all about addiction. What
Hmm.
I there was fights on the streets, people inebriated. We live in a warm weather, so you feel like the whole neighborhood is your family. Like, it's hard to keep secrets when each house is right next to the other. So even if it wasn't in your house, it was next door neighbors or the ones across the street, or some sort of conflict. So that was, I still feel that expectation of conflict today.
It almost
So
like kind of like the shoe is going to drop or something's going to happen, sort of.
yeah, that hypervigilance of, like, coming with the holidays, that somebody could get a little too inebriated and can take things out of control, and it could end in any way. Yeah, there was there definitely a lot of violence with that. But
Hmm.
I was kind of lucky in a way that my sister is 11 years older than me. And in the complex trauma family dynamic, is usually that older sister becomes sort of a caregiver in a way. And in our case, I was lucky that my parents sort of allowed me to be her daughter and her
Hmm.
my mom, because she started going to church when she was in her teens, and I was like 5 years old or something. And she took me with her in the holidays. And for me, that felt like going to Narnia, like being able to be. And that church was another underground situation happening in Cuba because of religion.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was in someone's backyard, and it was more like a barn without walls in the really back of their yard. And you would have to go through a fence and a big wooden door, and again the whole Narnia thing, and you had to go down a path. And once you got to that backyard, like, there were all the lights and kids having fun, and nobody was inebriated, and there were games and connection and all of that. And I was like, okay, this this is safe space. But again, in that complex trauma, always having in the back of your head, like, I'm gonna have to come home eventually. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm capturing the the feeling that I'm getting from that whole polar yeah, I would say polarization of my worlds happening at the same time there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that the Narnia reference is like such a great reference, especially for what you're describing. And like having it be underground, was there any sense of, like a fear of being seen or caught or danger? Was this like done in secret as well, or like?
Mhm. Yeah, and you can notice I'm like noticing it in my body.
Mm,
Just the
mm-hmm,
fact that you acknowledge that, my body feels like, yes, he can understand that that's totally the case. And it
mm,
was. You were not supposed to know what was happening, so all the music had to be lower and everyone
mm,
had to be in the hush hush. And there was a time that we had to go out in batches and come in batches, because if the neighbors were to complain that there was a church happening, we would get into trouble. And I don't feel safe in getting into details of how much trouble, because my family is still in Cuba and I
mm.
fear for their life.
So it's like that is such of a kind of like, as you said, like polarized or polarity of kind of like the communion and the connection and coming together, but then also having to whisper or to do it in secret. While you were there, while you were kind of in the backyard, in the bushes, in the community, like as a little kid, did you have that? Did you kind of feel that the tension or that danger even then, or were you able to let go? I'm trying to see how to word this here, but like, were you able to like kind of forget about it ever, or is that just something that was like always there, like with that celebration as well?
I would say that sort of depending on the moments, if there was a moment when we were engaged in games, or we used to do a lot of plays and the kids were involved, ourselves were involved. So I was always acting and in the middle of the thick of it, you would call it.
Mm,
So that I would be able to forget. But there would be quiet times that would be like, especially the moments where they were like, um almost ending, or if there was a reminder of like, we used to do silly gifts for each other, and it would be the most random um things, like pretend I don't know, one old shoe, and like that would be the gift for the next person, and they would just have fun of it, and there would be a story why I'm giving you one old shoe and all of that. And we knew that by the end of that gift exchange that would happen, and there was no value in the gifts, but we knew that soon after that we'll be ending the service and going home. And I remember waiting from one to the other, would be like, I hope that this never ends, because
mm.
I know I'm going to have to come home to even potentially my dad and all the unsafety that was there. Yeah.
Seriously, I can just sense kind of like just how much like joy and value that you got out of that, just that connection and that community. What would you say? Maybe you've already shared it already, but like, what would you say is kind of like just the biggest highlight, or if you have like a single biggest memory from any one Christmas as a child growing up?
I remember before the church was even the barn, it was just among, like underneath the tree there, among the rocks sitting everywhere, that they had, and this is my child memory, so I'm not sure how clear this is, but there
Mm,
was there were so many lights in that backyard. And I remember sitting on a rock and just being wowed by the lights. That was my first time seeing somebody trying to do with the leader they had.
mm,
I must not have been older than 6, Dandy.
mm.
It's a
Yeah,
very primal memory, yeah.
yeah. I love that. When we're kids, that connection to just how close like a connection to awe and wonder and curiosity is, that sometimes simple things can be so amazing or so powerful, or little like acts of beauty,
Mm.
like somebody stringing up lights, like just how we can find that awe and that wonder and that enjoyment in it.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we can appreciate it more when we truly feel safe and connected. So I think we
Mm,
can tap into that awe, into our ability to be in the present and just to be thankful for whatever little we have when we feel safe. And I think that's why I remember that, because it might have been one of the first times that I felt safe.
So let me ask, how long have you been in Canada?
I count the winters.
those are the time of the year to count for sure.
I don't count the years, but it's around 9 winters now.
9 winters. And Canada has how many winters per year?
Maybe just one, but it feels like has 3 at least.
It feels like a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So kind of thinking about this dichotomy you talked about of like growing up in communism and having to practice like both your faith and celebrate Christmas in an underground way. Like, how was coming to Canada, like how has that changed things for you? I know you mentioned earlier there's still a little bit of that tense trauma of like the shoe dropping just from the relationship to the year, but like what else has changed in your experience?
I gotta give a disclosure first. So normally I encounter this, you must be so thankful that you can experience material things in Canada. And I always say it doesn't matter if you live in a third world country or if you live in a first world country, we all have our different struggles and our challenges. So first I wanna put out there for everyone who's listening to this, don't minimize whatever you're going through. Up here, at the beginning, I felt like that little kid again, being wowed by all the lights and being impressed by all the snow and all the culture, that it was public now, that you could see all this happening on the streets and people could freely decorate and speak up whatever religion they were practicing, and all that freedom to a limit. But I experienced that here. However, then came in the high expectations of the gifts, and they did not felt anymore about connecting. They felt about check marks and being able to have something for someone. It doesn't matter if that's their love language or not, or very guilt driven presence when certain family members are trying to appease whatever they were not able to appease throughout the year through just giving a gift. And I marry a man who, like, his family lives in Canada. So that became now my family at the beginning, before I had chosen family. But it felt very much like the same pressure that I feared before towards perhaps my dad being inebriated, or that fear that I felt outside of my Narnia, that fear had crept into my Narnia. That was part of that memory.
Yeah, so there's kind of like one kind of expectation changed for another in a way. Can I share with you my favorite thing about kind of Latin or Spanish speaking cultures is that my first time, I said Spanish speaking, and now I'm going to talk. My first time it was in Brazil, where I noticed this, but I kind of lumped them in with everybody else. Is like, it was the first time that I saw people who their connection was with people rather than with things.
Yes.
And like growing up in the States, like people have their connection, it's to their perfectly mowed lawn, to their car, to their house, to their clothes. And there's a wall between the actual connection to other human beings, that we prioritize our property over prioritizing people.
And there are several elements in there, but for sure the fact that we have to depend on each other to survive in our country. And here, that independence comes with the cost of disconnection.
I want to follow on with your story, but I do have kind of a very Christmassy related question for you. Like, having grown up in Minnesota, Christmas is always about snow, and we always had snow for Christmas. And so it's just like my brain it struggles to comprehend the celebration of Christmas without snow. And when you were in Cuba, did people like our songs even? It's like I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Did people think about snow or talk about snow? Was there any, or is that just like so far away from the mental frame at the time?
Well, actually, all our Christmas songs are about Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Culture wise. So for the first time when I encounter that Christmas was about Santa Claus was here in
Mm-hmm.
Japan. And there was other elements of Christmas, but in a very southern culture, and I would say from Mexico down, it is very oriented to like, okay, what was that original Christmas about? And then all our songs about angels and the donkey that brought Jesus down, and like all this fun, like, but all religion oriented songs. So
Okay.
we didn't have any of that. Oh.
Yeah, that, like the second you said that, it blew my mind. And then it just like the realization dawned on me because like for me, it was like half Christian music and then half pop music. But if it's not something that's being celebrated in the popular culture, then that pop music is gone. So I get why it is all the Christian music. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like I'll just say my own ignorance. Like there are things that you don't necessarily become aware of until you're kind of like somebody just opens it up in front of you. And so I appreciate you you sharing that
Mhm.
and helping me to learn something new here today.
Honestly, and it's just we had different experiences. I don't think it's necessarily about, I was ignorant of the Canadian and the North American version as well
Mm-hmm.
until,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy being curious, and so I like learning about how different people live and experience things and how you expect things. And so like speaking about expectations, like, you kind of talked about kind of moving here and the expectations around family and faith, and then some of the guilt and how that shapes how you feel this time of the year. Like, can you talk a little bit more about how those expectations have shaped your experience of the season?
The first few years, it was a little bit what we were talking about before, that creeping in, that fear. So
Mm-hmm.
it was, the first year was sort of, everything was new. I had no idea what was happening. So I was sort of going with the flow. And from second year on, it was that fear of like, I must get the perfect gift, or I must show up 10 minutes before dinner starts, or like in a certain, like very rigid expectations of how that was supposed to be. And then at one point in my healing journey, maybe 3 years ago, I made the decision that this could not happen to me anymore. I felt like Christmas was happening to me. Any celebration, it was happening to me. I was expecting somebody to come and rescue me from it. And when I made the decision to take agency over how I wanted to do things and who I wanted to gather with, and and learning my language, my love language, and my spouse's love language, and my chosen family then that are now here with me and who I spend Christmas with, we don't even do physical gifts anymore.
Mm.
We give each other experiences, or we give each other memories, and that completely has become of how I want to experience this. And it does not have to fit in any box. As a matter of fact, we're all different, so it's not supposed to fit in any box. It's supposed to feel like it doesn't fit anywhere how I do it, because I'm completely different than anybody else. So that has shifted all of that. And now I can, instead of hoping that somebody can love me, I know I'm loved just because. And I just leave it. Mhm.
That's really beautiful. One of my new words this month, and I think you really express it here, is non-conforming.
Mm.
And really owning your individuality, your autonomy, your agency, your uniqueness. And I really hear you doing, where rather than fitting in and conforming, like you've started to create something like Christmas is supposed to be it's supposed to have supposed to. Now I'm putting something out in there. It's we see it as this inspiring and magical time, and yet maybe we're around people we may not enjoy, and so I just really love here how you've found a way to turn Christmas into something that maybe that 6-year-old Sandra would appreciate looking at the lights again.
And that's my kinds of decorations that I have now on. Is the ones that remind me of like how I used to be in that moment. If they're not, they don't even need to be a Christmas tree. They are right. They're about the moments of safety and the moments of connection. So yeah, we don't have to fit in any box. I would say it is a gift to be alive. It's a gift. It's such an amazing gift. And any holiday, honestly, Andy, any chance I can get to celebrate that, I will. Oh, you give me, we celebrate here, we celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, all of the all of the different religion holidays that we can possibly adopt, just as long as we can keep celebrating.
I love that. And I think kind of what I'm taking away from you here is that there's a way I want to word it, but it's not right. And the first one is like, you are the gift. But I think more deeply is you're bringing the gift of bringing yourself and your full self and just honoring yourself. And that seems to really be the gift.
Not that I planned this, but when we were talking before, remember the story about my lipstick?
Yeah. Tell me about your lipstick.
So it fits very well. It was like, I still have a hard time meeting my beauty needs. Growing up in Cuba, that is just superfluous. And I have decided for a long time I wanted a red lipstick for Christmas. And I was honestly asking God to teach me how to receive. And the most unexpected way from the most unexpected person, when I went to the store, I asked about this red lipstick. And I was like, if you can sell me some red lipstick that matches, but can you put a little confidence in there in that bag, because I'm going to need it to wear it. And the person that was selling me, it had an amazing makeup on. It was playful. It had colors in an area. It looked like maybe like a little clown makeup. And then on the other side, it was just so much fun. So much fun in his face. And I'm like, can you tell me how to do that? I know you can sell me confidence. And he said, buy it and wear it. And I want to put it on here because you are alive.
I love that, Sandra.
And that is just because I'm alive lipstick. So now I wear it every single day.
I love that. I love this kind of expressing yourself and discovering and exploring and playing and enjoying your own aliveness. And I think that's a great place here to end our conversation today. And so I just really want to say thank you, Sandra, for showing up and just bringing the gift of you, that unique, precious spirit that you bring. And thanks for sharing it with us today.
Thank you, Andy. I feel so accepted from you, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for being in my life.
Happy holidays. It was good seeing you.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
Next, I'm joined by someone whose heart and voice have become such an important part of the work we do. Joining us from Idaho, Jonathan's been leading workshops on shame recovery, and he brings a lot of courage and tenderness to the way he talks about love, loss, and sovereignty. Hey, Jonathan, it's really good to see you. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, good to see you too, Andy. It's good to be here.
I just, to start off, I was just wondering if you could maybe Tell me a little bit about like what Christmas has meant to you as a kid growing up. Like what were some of your memories of Christmas or foods or things you like or activities you enjoy doing?
Yeah, so Christmas for me growing up was a special time. Definitely, we would wake up early to go out to see what presents we got, and we would then, after we had our breakfast, which my mom would make these candy canes with like cinnamon and apple and I think maybe pecans in there, and then like frosting on this dough candy cane thing. What comes to mind? We'd eat that with eggs and in the morning, and then do presents, and then go to my grandma's and uncle's place in the afternoon and spend the rest of the day there, opening presents and hanging out with family, eating a big Christmas lunch dinner, and yeah, I have good memories of Christmas.
You know, I love hearing people's different things like candy canes mixed with cinnamon and apple and then eating it with eggs. That is a completely new one for me. Do you know if that's like your family specific or is that some part of the region of the world you grew up in?
Yeah, maybe it might be like in English. I don't know. It was my grandma, kind of I think came from her, and I know she's English, and so maybe it's some type of some English pastry, maybe.
Well, Jonathan, I know we've talked about in the past, like that this season carries a lot for you, and that as a father, you can't always be with your own children during the holidays. Would you be willing to chat with us about like how when that ache for your kid shows up, like what does it say about what you value as a father?
That's a great question. And you used the word ache there. And that's an emotion that, as I facilitate some of the groups in the Lift program, I often talk about how ache or pain or grief is the one thing that we all have in common that brought us to the Tim Fletcher platform to begin to go into our complex trauma and to learn how to navigate our emotions and our feelings. And so to feel that ache of not being with my kids this Christmas is, yeah, it is an ache. And the question was about where that value comes in as being a father. And I would say the ache lets me know I am not only a father but human, and I do have these emotions and feelings, and for me it comes in waves, and I know Christmas is one of those waves because you want to be near the ones that you love, right? And we love our kids, and I think it's just shows the value that I have, this value of wanting to be intimate with my kids, to be close to them, for me to know them and experience them, and them to experience me and know me. And Christmas is one of those days you definitely can feel the ache of not having that there, because I think as you know we're all humans, we're all brothers. I'm a brother, a son, a friend. So whatever the circumstance may be for anybody, that's a normal feeling of if you don't have that closeness or that connection there on this day. And one thing I've learned from Tim, from you, Andy, is that we're not to like shove those emotions down and just like, all right, I'm not feeling that. Let me distract myself and scroll on, you know, the gram, or alcohol, drinking, you know, those numbing agents. I learned those don't work. So that was probably a long answer, but
No, no. I really appreciated like you can you can kind of hear that kind of both that desire for belonging and also the longing as you speak about it. And I think really something that comes out as you share here is just kind of the common humanity, like both recognizing it in you, but you recognizing it in yourself of, being that father, being a human, and recognizing that we share grief, so we share loss, we have these emotions. Thinking of that grief and the loss, and but also that both that longing and that belonging, like how do you hold both of those, the grief and the love? What do you do to stay connected to your children in spirit even when you can't be with them physically?
man, I don't know if you're ready for this. I to stay connected even when I can't, or even when there's maybe no communication, would be to continue having the compassion and love for myself, one, and feeling that in my body, feeling, being present with the compassion for myself and love for myself, but then also just knowing as I continue to do the work of that self-love and compassion for myself and feeling it, I like to picture a white golden orb around me of love and compassion. And then from this like orb of energy around me, I like to send cords of white and gold cords of love and compassion to my kids in my mind's eye, and just like see my energy connecting to them and filling them with compassion and love. And yeah, I just got to believe that as we do this work, this internal work for ourselves, that on some kind of quantum level, spiritual, esoteric, whatever you want to call it, that I feel like something is happening for our kids, for our parents, and even the whole world, you know? What do you think of that? It's
Mm.
kind of out there.
No, I like that. Like it's a powerful image, kind of, I see it's like you're bathing yourself in love and sending that love outward as well. And, in my view of like some of these core emotions of love and respect, like the place of the unconditional is holding inside of us, and all we can do is share it. And so the more that we offer it to ourselves and the more we share it with others, it is something that can change us and transform those around us. I think that's just a really beautiful imagery. It takes a lot of courage to really stay open to love. And I was wondering if I could ask you, how does that courage show up for you? Like, is it difficult? And what do you do when it's difficult to have that courage, or when it's difficult to be open to loving yourself and to sharing it with others?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes I have to close my eyes to just to connect with my body and to find like just the most authentic, real answer for that within myself. And so what kind of is dropping in is just the shame, right? Like
Mm.
aspect of things, and Tim talks about that, and that it's shame is more of an identity we take on than something that we like miss, right? Like whoops, like. And so I think it's a constant reminder, it's like having that courage as when shame comes up, our mind, that wants to say, hey, you got to be perfect and this is who you are, that you're not with your kids on Christmas, and you could have done things differently and maybe you would be with them on Christmas, and it's like just taking that breath, I like to put my hand on my heart and just knowing that it's through the ache and the grieving is the proof that, man, I want the best for my kids. I want the best for me. And that the shame thought that comes in that I'm observing is like, um that can sometimes be painful, and we could take that on maybe to some degree, but then at some point, it's about saying, yeah, like I did the best I could with the tools I had at the time, and now that I have more tools, and I am not that same person. I am growing in self-love for myself and gaining the tools to navigate my relationship with myself, with my kids, and then that's where that the courage to have the compassion for yourself, even though when sometimes it feels like you don't deserve it, right? But I think that we're all like, we come into this world pure beings, full of love and vulnerability, and because of complex trauma, that innocence or purity was kind of taken from us, and we had to then become adults and do adult things, but trapped in just a little kid body, still emotional body that has to just survive. And so, you know, we don't spank kids for trying to walk and falling, so I just extend that same compassion for myself. And the Tim Fletcher
Mm.
platform here and the Lift program just really helped me do that.
Really here, there's like a lot of kind of that self-compassion work that you've done, but also this just kind of recognizing that fact of the past of like you did the best you could with the tools that you had at the
Yeah.
time. Thinking about other parents who may be missing their own children this Christmas, what kind of hope or advice would you offer them to maybe help them move from that place of despair towards a sense of peace or purpose?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. And if I was to give advice to any parents out there that may be feeling the grief, the ache, the despair on Christmas Day here, just going through the holidays without that connection, would be to just take a moment and to step away from any distractions and just place your hand on your heart and take in a mindful breath in through the nose and hold it for a bit and then exhale slowly and just do that for just at least 3 times or for a few minutes, and in those breaths just find gratitude for anything simple. It could be a roof over your head, a computer to watch this video, or phone to listen to this video on, or this podcast, and through that gratitude just begin to feel the gratefulness, and to be grateful for something has really helped me on my journey, and as I have navigated through despair and grief. And also know, as you show yourself compassion and you do take a moment to be still and to find something to be grateful for, that energy of gratefulness, the discipline to just kind of, I don't like the word discipline, but like, I guess what's another word for discipline, but there's just I mean, really, discipline is self-love, in my opinion. Like when you take the time for you, right? That's a great way to go.
The word discipline triggers me as well. And I use the word commitment is the word that I've come on, is like making that commitment to myself and having
Oh,
that
commitment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just love like your advice. I hear it's just kind of grounded in this compassion, but like really this encouraging of taking some patience and extending a little bit of grace to yourself, and some of the self-nurturing of that self-touch, and then the breathing practice as well. I think that was really beautiful, and I just love the tenderness with which you share. Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you stopping by today to share some holiday spirit with me. Do you have any final word to say before you leave here today to our listeners?
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. And I'm trying to get a beard coming in like you, but it's a little short, but I'm doing my best.
Someday, buddy. All right. Well, Jonathan, it was such a pleasure connecting with you today. I really hope you enjoy your Christmas and the holiday season, and take care, man.
You as well, my brother. Blessings.
I'm so grateful to everyone who shared today. As we wrap up these reflections from the team, we wanted to spend a little time with some familiar faces who mean a lot to all of us, the Fletcher family. They've each offered to share a bit of what this season means to them, and some words of encouragement for those who might be listening today. Let's start with Breanne. Hey, Breanne. Thanks for joining
Andy.
today. Happy holidays.
Too.
How are you doing today?
Good. Happy. Christmas is my absolute favorite holiday, so I'm feeling really good.
Can you share what are some of the things you enjoy about Christmas?
I mean, lots of things, I suppose. Interestingly, I think one of the things I love about Christmas the most is the anticipation of Christmas. I love the December buildup. Like just, everything feels so festive in the air and everyone's excited and decorations go up, lights go up, all of those things. And you get the cozy vibes. So I love the anticipation leading up to Christmas. But I think Christmas itself, it's just a beautiful time to come together with family, celebrate, share gifts with each other, and eat some tasty foods, because who doesn't love that?
And what are some of the foods that you guys like to eat, or what are some of your favorite foods?
Well, I might get some haters for this, but I am a vegetarian, so I do not love the traditional turkey dinner that most people or a lot of people in Canada do. But often what we do on, sorry, there's a dog popping its head in. Often what we do on Christmas Eve is we love to do like an appetizers night. So we just get like, I don't know, 10, 15 different little snacks, and we just have this huge spread and we eat appetizers, we play games, we watch a Christmas movie kind of in that final anticipation. And then Christmas Day, this morning for breakfast, we usually have a nice little spread with some fresh baking, eggs. Some people eat bacon in the household, pancakes, waffles, whatever it is. And then for lunch, every year is different. As vegetarians, we're like, what should we substitute the turkey for this year? But yeah, it depends. I don't even think I'll tell you because it sounds gross to most people, but whatever. I love mashed potatoes, if that helps.
I like the little tease, and then we're not going to share that.
Secrets.
Yeah, secrets. Who's the pupper that's showing up here with you? Who's your guest?
Oh, my guest disappeared.
Mm.
But we have 3 dogs, so when they're awake, they love to just poke their head in and try and get some attention. But I think that was Milo.
Well, let me ask, like, what helps you find hope and connection this time of year?
It's a good question. Connection, I think, is created at this time of year, for us at least, just because there's such intentional carved out time where you get to be together without distractions. So throughout the year, life gets busy, you might get a weekend here, an evening here, which is great. And I cherish those moments. But over Christmas, it's like 3 solid days where everyone puts everything aside. There's no work to go to. There's no shopping to do. There's no errands to run. And we just get to really expand that space for each other. And even if that is watching movies together, just laying around and chatting. Sometimes people go for their naps on Christmas afternoon because of all the excitement, But whatever it is, I just love creating that space of connection and real quality time, because quality time is one of my love languages. And so I love the opportunity for lots of quality time, not just little snippets of it. And then in terms of hope, I don't really know how to answer that question, to be honest with you, but I think just the energy in the air around Christmas, at least for me, because I do have positive experiences with Christmas, it just feels so positive and hopeful and excited. And so it's just a feeling, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I can feel that energy and the enthusiasm as you share about the day. And I just have one more question for you. For people who are listening, what do you hope that they might feel or remember as they spend their own Christmas day? I think you've shared a lot of great things here. Like, is there anything specific you'd like to share with our listeners?
Sure. I think, I know for many people, Christmas is not a happy time. It can be really a lonely time and just or a reminder of people that we don't have to celebrate it with. I think it's really important to honor that. But I hope that people can find those who do matter in their lives and be able to create just connection with them, right? Even if it's just sending a text or a letter or hopping on a call with somebody and being able to wish them a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or whatever it is. And just take the opportunity to slow down and let the people that you know in your life, let them know how much that they do mean to you, because, it is that time where we often do think of those that we love and we want to send some wishes to them. So I hope that everyone is able to do that for others in their life, but also in turn then receiving love and connection as well.
I really love that, like taking that chance to slow down and then just like really this encouragement to reach out. Well, thank you. Thanks so much for being here today, Breanne, and thanks for sharing this time with us. I know you have a busy holiday day. And so I was wondering if you'd be willing to grab your sister Brittany, and we'll see if she has anything that she would like to share.
Absolutely. I'm sure she has a minute. And so I will get her. Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thanks a lot, Breanne. Hey, Brittany, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I love your sweater.
Thank you. I had to dress up for Christmas today, so
Yeah. I like the puppy on there. We met a puppy earlier.
you met one of ours?
Yeah, yeah. The one I think it was Milo. Breanne said came and popped his head over. I saw a little black on the corner there.
Yep. They like to make themselves known and be part of all the excitement.
Yeah. So let me just ask, like, kind of what are some of the things that you enjoy about Christmas?
Yeah, I've been giving it a lot of thought this week. I know Brianne was mentioning too, there's just this kind of element of connecting and family time and quality time that is so special, that has really meant a lot to us. But I think for me, as a child who was very just sad, depressed most of the time, disconnected, lonely, and introvert at that too, I think Christmas was a way for me to just look forward to something and really just kind of get my mind out of the darkness to something that I knew would bring me some joy and connection. And so for me, it was, this kind of just special time. And with, I think Dad being sick too, it was like watching him come out and just him be a little kid again and just be silly and get us excited. And then just find little ways to connect with us. And then my mom, she connected with us in different ways too that she didn't normally. And then I think because our family was our complex trauma separated us all. So we were all kind of like our own little islands in our own pain. That Christmas was a time for us to come together for no other reason than to just be together. We didn't have extended family that we spent time with or, a lot of friends that we brought into that experience. It was just like an intentional time for us to just be together and create special memories. So I think that's, to me, why it feels so special for me.
It sounds like there's been kind of a lot of change for you over the years, moving from maybe more of the complex trauma lens and your own sadness and loneliness. How would you say your understanding of what makes Christmas meaningful has changed over the years?
I know for a long time, because I also went into like fantasy a lot as a kid, that Christmas just became like this fantasy magical experience that became unhealthy in a lot of ways. It was like all these expectations of what it should be, of what I needed it to be, to continue getting me out of myself, to fix my problems, etc. That's what it kind of was to some degree growing up. But now it's like, I don't know, just learning how to create my own Christmas that's realistic for me, reality for me, but also just finding joy in the small moments. So, I had to let go of some of the traditions that I just did because I had to do it. And it was, what was part of the magical experience. But once I started getting more honest about it, it was like, well, this is actually just more stress than it brings joy anymore. So I don't need to do that anymore. Let's just kind of shift the focus to just doing things or getting things to kind of what is most meaningful, which is the quality time connection stuff. So it became a lot less of the expected traditions or the usual traditions to just creating our own Christmas, even our own family with our students. What can we do to make it special for them, but also within our capacity and what we all need? That's kind of vague, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
No, I love that. And there's a lot of tenderness in what you're sharing. And I was wondering, as you talk about kind of moving away from expected traditions to creating your own traditions, would you be willing to share what one or two of the traditions that you've created that are maybe unique to you and your family?
Sure. Yeah, I could probably list quite a few. We've kind of even narrowed down a lot of these, still simplifying, but we've done like little activities throughout November and December just to build up to Christmas. So we do like we go see like a Christmas performance, a dance performance every year, go to see Christmas lights in a park nearby. And we'll just experience that in different ways. We have Christmas Eve every year where we just play games and eat lots of good food. And that's about all we do. And then go to bed early so we can wake up really early. Our dad used to wake us up at like 4 a.m. because his little kid just came out and wanted to just get us all excited. And he'd drag us out of bed and, things like that. We don't get up at 4 a.m. anymore, but we get up early to open our stockings and watch movies. We don't do a whole lot on Christmas, but just eat good food and watch movies and open presents. Even that, we used to do a lot of presents for our kids, but now it's like, I don't know, just done with the stuff. So we just get more little meaningful things and then coming up with more creative gift ideas to create experiences, not just things. And one of my favorite traditions of Christmas too was my dad always put up the Christmas tree on November 1st every year. Part of it was, again, I think, to create that excitement, that moving towards something. But the other fun part was pushing my mom's buttons because she hated Christmas stuff up in November because it just got dusty and dirty and her OCD would come out. But she's dying that I'm saying that. But part of my dad and I's connection and humor was pushing her buttons and just out of love and laughter, but just finding little things like that to connect with and get excited about. So things like that. And cinnamon buns on Christmas morning, just one of our favorite breakfast things. And yeah, I don't know. There's nothing really special or standouty, but it's just like these little experiences or time together. It's really cool.
That's really what I'm hearing is like a lot of just creating a lot of little, like, I don't want to use the word little in a diminutive way, but like meaningful experiences and really, really celebrating the experience together. Well, I really appreciate that, Brittany, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Do you have any maybe final words, anything you'd want to offer or share to our community and our listeners here for the holidays?
I know that many people don't have what we have with family and connection. And I think to me, even, stuff that we've gone through, I think one of the things that I like to hold on to hope in and offer hope to others is that kind of creating your own family can bring just as much joy and connection, even creating, the family that we have with our students and our adopted kids. It's like, it's not blood, but it's just the people that you invite into your life that create that hope for safety, for connection, for a safe place to come home to. And I know that a lot of people still struggle with where do you find those safe people, which is always the struggle. But I do believe that more and more people are getting there and working on themselves, and that there is hope for that for people, and just for people to find kind of the healing and connection in those communities, because it's so important. And I hope that people will continue to keep finding the right people that they can experience those connection points with.
Yeah, I love that. And thanks for sharing that message with us, Brittany. And I want to just wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday and a Happy New Year here. And I appreciate you coming on with us today. And I know she's probably biting at the bit, especially if she could hear you there. And so if you want to grab Kim and put her on the hot seat for a minute, we'd love to have her.
Thanks, Andy. Merry Christmas to you too.
Merry Christmas. See ya.
I'm absolutely terrified.
Are you? Hey, Kim.
Don't you have any nice filters on this to get rid of my wrinkles?
No, we just get to appreciate the full you.
Yeah, I'd prefer without wrinkles, but okay, I'll just do that on my Zoom calls.
Yeah. Well, Merry Christmas, Kim. It's nice to see you here today.
Nice to see you too, Andy. Did you have a Merry Christmas so far?
It's been a really good day so far. Lots of good
Excellent.
connection with people.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I have stuff like I want to have our own conversation, but I want to give you a chance to respond to the Dusty comment at all.
Can you believe I kept telling her, it can't go up November 1. I will not dust Christmas ornaments. And when it's up for 7 weeks, I dust Christmas ornaments. So yeah, that's been a bone of contention.
Mm-hmm. So given how contentious the lead up to Christmas can be for you, what are some ways, some things that help you stay grounded or connected through it?
Well, I do a lot of self-care. So I know when the girls, so those who don't know, Tim and I live in the basement of our girls' house. So when they're ever going shopping, I tag along and we do our thing. But I also know that I need a lot of downtime. So I need to be home by a certain time so I can sit on my couch and do whatever. But we also have a sauna in our basement. So lots of saunas, lots of relaxation, lots of breathing. I have really lowered my expectations of what happens at Christmas time. So if I can jump into what Christmas was like for me growing up, it was all about perfection. It was all about everything. Everybody was together. There was just massive events going on. So as much as my family of origin can't have a deep conversation and we just talk about very superficial things, we were always together at Christmas, like big events, like we're talking 20 people, grandmas and grandpas and cousins and whatever. And it was always, and so I loved that as a kid because it was festive and lots going on. In hindsight, of course, I saw my mom so stressed for 3 weeks beforehand. So when Tim and I moved out to Winnipeg, so we were in Southern Ontario, we moved out to Winnipeg. We didn't have any family, like zero family for Christmas times. And so I took it upon myself to put this perfect, beautiful events on. And the turkey had to be perfect and the festivities were great. However, I couldn't do it to the extent that the whole big family did because it was always just a huge, exciting event. So I tried to put on Christmas, and I usually spent Christmas Day crying because it's like all the expectations. And you heard from one of the girls, Tim would wake them up at 4 or 5 in the morning, open presents, big excitement for an hour. And then it was a normal day like every other than me cooking all day. And I cried all day because I was like, this is so boring. This is lonely. I'm so desperately lonely without family. Now, every 3 years, we try to take the trek. We drive to Florida where our family spent Christmas. And it was a 33-hour drive. But the 2 of the 3 years that we stayed at home, it was depressing. It was very, very sad. But it was because of my own perfectionism and everything had to be big. And I just couldn't make it big at all.
I think that's like so just interesting to note. And I love your use of the term of like just lowering expectations, talking about the perfectionism and the stress and how like just kind of lowering your expectations. Kind of how does the season change for you? How does the day change for you?
Like in terms of physical stuff I actually lowered the expectations?
Well, no, from the emotional, from spending the day crying and in stress, like how has that changed? Like, what's the dynamic for you now as you're not so in the perfectionist world?
Right. So that took me many years to figure out what was going on. Remember, I was still only doing my healing journey in my 40s. So I cried for 20 years, 15 years. So when I started to do my healing journey, just everything changed in terms of paying attention to what was going on. Before I was just this control freak and bossing everybody around. When I started to sit back and start noticing what was going on and recognizing that somebody didn't want to do what I was demanding everybody do, again, I went through another grief cycle. What do you mean you don't want to spend the whole day, 8 hours playing games and running around and doing fun stuff? What do you mean you don't want to? So I married an introvert. Tim's an introvert. But a couple of my kids just didn't want to do that. So that was, again, a grief of the loss of what I thought Christmas would look like. So then fast forward to moving here like 4 years ago, I can't remember now. It was all of a sudden, okay, things are different now. I was able to sit back and let Brittany and Breanne do the Christmas because they had the bigger house and Tim and I lived in their little wee condo. So it was now passing over the baton to them. So they did the decorations and I didn't want to have a say in it anymore. So there was this huge shift in me where I didn't have to control everything and make everything big. I would sit back and let them do it. And I actually had fun just observing what was going on. And it's like, oh, so they like that? I never would have thought. So I let them do it. Not that I had any choice about letting them do it, but they just did it. So it was really exciting to actually see I didn't have to do it all. And they were, at that point, they were in their 30s. So I got to sit back and just really enjoy the day. And I did.
I love that. Like, I think there's two things I just want to pull out of that I really loved hearing you say. And one is kind of like not having to be the hero and take care of everybody else. And then also just that, like, letting go, loosening up on control a little bit. Yeah.
That was hard to do, but I'm glad I did it.
I'm glad to hear that you've been able to do that. And I want to ask you about one other like special thing. I know that on, that you throughout the year sometimes, but also today and on Christmas Day, you'll do reading children's books to members of the Lyft community. And I know that I've taken advantage of that. Some of my past Christmases, not having, people to be with or a place to go. And so I'd like to know kind of like what brought that about for you, kind of what you're hoping to impart through doing that. What does that mean to you?
Well, I'm going to try not to get emotional because I already feel the emotions rise a little bit around that question. I'm an early childhood educator as well. So I loved reading stories to kids. I loved their eyes lighting up and the excitement and the imagination. Then I started hearing when I started doing Lift and React and stuff, I would read a story and people would say, wow, in my entire life, I've never had a story read to me. And that broke something in me. It's like, really? That was just a huge part of not just my growing up, but my kids growing up. So I started to do some reading stories. So I started to do it throughout the year. And then at Christmas came around and I went, I want to do that. And I'll tell you the bond that I feel. Now, I've heard from some people, they just love that Christmas morning story time, not be dynamic and exciting, but it's just sitting down with people that I love and care about. And we get to spend an hour together. Now, it really is one of the highlights of my day. Yeah, we have all our family stuff and it's great. But sitting down with the people that I consider my family, because my parents have died in the last year. So my sister is still doing all this stuff, but I have no interest in really going there because I love our traditions and I love being with people who are healing and growing and being part of our family of Lift and just spending that hour with them. I'm very touched by it. I'm very moved by it. So, yeah. See, I didn't cry.
No, and I just, I appreciate it too, and I'm so glad that you've done that and that you give that gift to people, somebody who's benefited from that space, just kind of the warmth and the comfort and the care that you give to others during the holidays. It's so important and so beautiful.
Thanks, Andy. I wanted to share something that I'm doing with my kids. Because again, we live in the basement, so we're all just kind of working together and spending time together. This year, for the first year, I'm actually doing the 12 days of Christmas with my girls. So the night before, and again, I'm doing it January 1st to the 12th, December 1st to the 12th, because it just gets too crazy around Christmas time. So every morning I'm going to be leaving a little gift for them. Now they have 2 students they live with right now. So there's the 4 or the 5 girls. We actually have 5 girls right now. And I'm going to be leaving little gifts in tune with the 12 days of Christmas. So smelling candles and golden rings. I'm going to get golden donuts and, French, so I'm doing that. And I am so pumped for it. I can hardly sleep at night thinking about this exciting event that we're going to do for them. And I know it's going to be meaningful because for my girls, for Brittany and Breanne, it's more about the thought going into the gift. I mean, none of them really have the love language of gifts, but it's the thought that goes into it. And I've always been really bad at that. When I go shopping, I'd pick up things that are on sale and go, oh, this will go well in their stocking and this, but it doesn't mean anything. It's not a thoughtful gift. So this is going to be that event where I've spent weeks and weeks preparing, and I wrote little poems for each of the mornings, and it's going to be a surprise. And we all love surprises in our family. So I just wanted to share that. It's going to be very exciting. So by the time they hear this on the actual Christmas day, it'll be all past. So it won't be a surprise, but I didn't want them here right now.
Yeah, that sounds really sweet, and I can see your excitement as you think about that too. Yeah. And so my question for you is, just if you have any final words for our listeners, for our community, and maybe especially if there is somebody who's kind of still in that perfectionistic performance mindset, what words would you offer for them for Christmas?
Well, because I've been there, I can honestly say nobody cares if it's perfect. And it just sets us up for failure. And again, like I talked about how hard that was for me, there's no way you can get it perfect. I mean, the Hallmark commercials and the, movies and stuff, they say that is doable. It's not. And nobody cares. So lower your expectations, make your life easier. Just be present with your kids. Just be present with whoever is there. And that will mean more than having this perfect, glamorous event.
I love that. I love the resonance of the word present with present. One of the greatest gifts you can give on Christmas and in the holidays and ever is your presence to somebody else. It's really beautiful. Well, thank you for being here with me today, Kim. It was really nice chatting with you.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas. I hope your day goes great.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, if you could grab Tim and we'll chat.
He's
with
right
him
over here.
Okay, excellent.
There we go.
Tim, I love the red shirt.
Well, I figured it had to be a Christmassy shirt, so
that's perfect. Thanks for taking a few minutes to close this out here.
Hopefully it's gone well.
Yeah. I really appreciated talking to all the women in your life and getting some of that authenticity and some of the vulnerability, but also some really meaningful conversation. And let me ask you, if we spend a few minutes here together, you walk so many people through healing and hope. What does this season bring up for you now?
I would look at it like just historically two perspectives. So me as a kid and me as a dad. And I think me as a kid, Christmas was always lots of activities, lots of family stuff, not tons of tradition, but meaningful traditions. And so it was very positive. It was when we got together with extended family and we lived in a part of Canada where we only saw them once a year. And it was usually Christmas. So it was, big family get together, lots of very positive memories. So to me, Christmas was always a very positive thing. But I have a very vivid memory in my teens where I think what began to happen was in my teens, I started having some depression that I wasn't even aware of. And so there was an element of Christmas. There was a fantasy that it was going to be this over the top, positive, warm, make me feel good experience. And I remember the first time walking away from a Christmas and feeling quite empty. It hadn't filled all the pots. It hadn't satisfied. And it was just realizing and thankfully I was able to process it, but don't expect that event to be a magic fix to your life. It's only a small piece to it. But what was interesting to me, even as a teen, was hearing other people, when I mentioned it, said, oh yeah, they've gone through that too. And it's like your heart is longing for that perfect, almost heaven, Garden of Eden, paradise experience. And we kind of equate it with Christmas because of all of the kind of Hollywood versions of it, that we think it's going to be that, and then it's not. And it's what I began to realize, and I didn't have the words for it back then, but what I began to realize is that the Christmases that were the most meaningful were the ones where there was the most connection. It wasn't the rituals. It wasn't all of that. It was whether there was really meaningful connection. So when I became a dad, like Kim came out of, we got it, like tons of, you got to do it this way. You got to have these traditions. That tradition means nothing to me. I don't want that tradition. So we had our conflict around that, but it was like, I want to create traditions for my kids and us as a family that mean something to us and enable us to connect. And I think if you talk to our son and Britt and Breanne, it's the times where, to me, they felt positive emotions and connection that made Christmas meaningful. Everything else they didn't care about. It didn't matter to them. It was, is there connection? Is there something positive as far as producing positive emotions? And so that really became, I think, kind of a guide for me in wanting to create not just stressful, endless, meaningless rituals, but opportunities for true connection. And so it was thinking outside of the box, but finding things that, and it was different for each kid. So I remember Brittany as a little kid, she loved music. So Christmas Eve, I would turn off all the lights. There'd just be the Christmas tree. Then we put on a whole bunch of candles. So it would be this very warm and kind of ambiance in the room. And then we would sing. And so we'd start with having music playing, and then I'd turn the music off, and then we'd sing some Christmas carols together. And so you could just see her responding to that. And then Breanne loved just warm emotional stories and watching a movie together. And then it would be a really heartwarming movie that really moved you. And then she'd want to talk about it and snuggle. And my son liked reading Calvin and Hobbes. So we'd read Calvin and Hobbes and watch some silly movies and laugh. And that was very special. So it was just finding what worked for each kid individually, and then what we could do as a family that created that sense of connection.
I love that. And what I'm hearing from you is it's not just connection, but there's really this very attuned aspect of that connection. And I think especially in what your daughter said, that's like really come out, is that's that quality time, that connection that really makes the season for them.
Yeah. And I think what I saw with that is, so connection with my kids, and I think it's pretty much across the board, there were really two key elements. There needed to be lots of fun, lots of laughter. And so I had to act silly. I had to Calvin and Hobbes and different things, movies that were funny. But there needed also to be real emotional warmth that came with the connection too. And so fun and warmth, emotional connection, warmth, to me became those really two guiding lights in what we did together.
And I was wondering, I'm gonna say this really broadly, and I know you can handle that. For people who are listening, who are maybe they're going through grief or loneliness, struggling with disconnection, or just maybe struggling with kind of their mental health or hurting in some way, kind of what kind of hope or encouragement would you want to share with those who are listening today?
Well, I think, like, to me, what was really helpful to me coming out of very much the Hollywood romanticized version of Christmas was being a pastor in those younger days and having to preach every Christmas on the Christmas story. But I had to go back and study the Christmas story within the culture, what was happening. And what I found out was there wasn't a whole lot of fun and happiness in that. That was one of the most stressful, difficult, hard times in the lives of Mary and Joseph. And it was a really, really tough time. And so that to me was very validating. It took a lot of that fantasy out of it and just said, Christmas isn't about creating a fantasy in external circumstances. Christmas is about being where you are and doing what's right and connecting with others in love. And yeah, you may not have unicorns and rainbows, but you might have a joy that you would not have And I think that's what I learned as a kid is you could have this romanticized Christmas, but if you didn't have connection, there was an emptiness. And so it's really kind of inverting what our society has done by focusing on the externals and really focusing on the relational element as really the priority of what makes Christmas.
You're sharing about kind of moving from this to the fantasy Hollywood version. And would you be willing to talk just like a little bit more kind of, I think one of the things of people healing is we expect and we want a life that's a life of comfort. We expect a life of comfort and ease. And Christmas is one of those holidays where we kind of 100x that. And what I heard you saying is, you know, and especially talking about like the original Christmas story, that it's something that's like uncomfortable. And could you maybe talk just a little bit about like the relationship with discomfort or an ability to face or accept painful or uncomfortable experiences?
Yeah, I think that to me, there's two things. So society has really basically made joy all about external circumstances. So if you get the right external circumstances, you'll be happy. And I go, yeah, you'll have pleasure, but that doesn't make happiness. Happiness must have connection as the main ingredient. And then it doesn't matter a whole lot what the external circumstances are, because I think we're made for connection as the source of joy or happiness. The problem with complex trauma is people have never experienced secure attachment. So they've never experienced that emotion of that joy. And so you look for it in externals. It's really beginning to connect with yourself, connecting with one or two safe people. And you begin to experience, wow, this is an amazing feeling of just that. Two vulnerable people being open and connecting and not judging and having empathy for each other is an amazing thing. But the second thing I think is the complex trauma child mind is it's all or nothing. So if I'm not experiencing 100% joy, then life sucks. And it's realizing that I can have grief, I can have pain, I can have frustration, but I can still have joy mixed in with that. And so it's really learning that it's very, very, very seldom that you get pure joy and no other emotion. We call that ecstasy or euphoria. And that happens very rarely. Most of the time we experience joy in the midst of other emotions that are negative. And so it's learning to find that joy, focus on the joy, not focus on all the negative emotions, which we tend to do, but say, yeah, I'm dealing with the loss here. I'm dealing with the frustration here. I can sit in that. It's not going to kill me. I'm managing it well. I'm just going to enjoy joy in the midst of all of that. And so it's just beginning to realize that joy is always part of a mix of emotions as the norm. And so for people, I think going into Christmas is validate all the negative emotions that you're feeling. Be honest about it. Yeah, life sucks right now. I can hardly pay my bills. My kids are rebelling. My relationship sucks. Life isn't good. But I've found a couple connections that are very meaningful, and I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to focus on that and be thankful for that. And that to me is, okay, you got a taste of joy. You got some joy in the midst of life. And that's reality. Reality is not euphoria constantly. That's a fantasy that's given to us by Hollywood.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a little bit of a refrain that I've heard through the rest of your family is moving from that fantasy, the fantasy of what joy is, that euphoria version, and then coming into more of a grounded reality. And here, what I hear from you is that it can be complex, but we can also be very intentional about how we think about things and approach things, especially this time of year. Let me ask you before we invite the rest of your family back for a final goodbye and final greeting. Is there any final words that you would like to share to our listeners or our community as they're celebrating the holiday today?
What I think is part of being realistic about Christmas is be realistic that I may not end up having this year a perfect Christmas where I have all the 100 things I'd love to include as part of my Christmas as part of it, but I can add one or two things this year that add meaning, connection, where I learned to use new tools, where I learned to create a surrogate family. That might not seem like a whole lot in light of the 100 things I could do, but do that, celebrate that. And next year you can add a couple more and then a couple more. And so if you see that your experience of Christmas is going to be a progression of developing greater and greater capacity for meaningful Christmases, then you're not going to be disappointed or down on yourself. I didn't do as good a job as I should have, etc. So kind of accept where you're at and accept that this is a gradual progression of growing into adding things that make it even more and more meaningful. And then I think that the other piece to me is so many people coming out of complex trauma, there's a codependency that says, I need to make Christmas, I need to do what you want to do. So I need to do your traditions. I need to go and visit all these people because they want me to. And you burn yourself out. You go broke buying gifts for everybody. And you're afraid to set boundaries because then people would be upset or annoyed at you. But make this about you and your family and say, the purpose of boundaries is to protect us, that we can have the space and the money and the time to do meaningful stuff together. And if I offend a few people and they have hurt feelings, you know what? I'm sorry, but that's on them. That's not my priority. My priority is creating boundaries that enable us to have the space to grow and to heal and to really develop and progress in meaningful Christmases. And I think, the first year you're going to feel quite awkward and insecure and shame might come up. But after a couple of years, you're going to start feeling comfortable that, hey, this is really working and it's making a difference. And I'm glad that I set some boundaries. So those are things that I think are really important for people in the early days.
Tim, there's you cover this in a way where there's the part of me that still gets so frustrated. It's like, but today, but now. But this is one of the things that I really appreciate about you as well, is like, you're not going to blow smoke at somebody, but to have a sense of reality and groundedness of, over time working on your acceptance, over time working on your agency, but really over time, and this time could be years, learning how to take more care of yourself and love yourself better, is what I heard you say.
Yeah. And just one very practical, like I remember when we were first married, and then it's like, okay, now we got Kim's family, we got my family, we got our family, we're living in Winnipeg, so we got people there. And so it was like, we could be running ragged, trying to please everybody. So Kim and I just said, you know what, we got to decide what we need and we want. And that's the priority here. And we're not going to be able to please everybody. It's impossible. And I just think if people can start with that, what are my needs? What are my kids' needs? That's my priority. And so let's just really make that the focus. And so we went to my parents and Kim's parents and said, we're going to come Christmas Eve to Kim's parents and Christmas morning. And then we're going to go Boxing Day to my parents. And then we're going to basically spend the rest of the time with just Kim and the kids and I. But we set very reasonable but clear boundaries. This is how we're going to make Christmas happen. It's not going to be kind of what you would expect or have wanted from the past, but that's the way it's going to be because of kind of the conditions that we have to live with. And we're so glad we did that. I don't know what the parents said behind our back after we left, but we had set that boundary, and it wasn't being cruel. It was just, this is the reality we have to work with. And here's how we're trying to make it work. And so glad we did it. So,
yeah, I like that. That last little bit too of setting a boundary, I forget where this came from, but it's like, I'm acting for me, not against you.
Exactly.
And really being able to do that act of self-care. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for everything you do for this community, for your organization, and for all of our listeners. Such a really grounding reminder of what really matters this time of year. And before we wrap up, Would you be willing to bring everybody back in just for a final greeting, a way to get the
I
whole
will.
family?
Let me go round them up.
Well, I just want to thank you all for sharing with us today. Wish you a Merry Christmas, and just give you guys an opportunity to just give a Christmas wave, Christmas greeting to everybody who's listening, everybody in the community. And so I want to thank you all. Appreciate you being here.
Just from all of the Fletchers, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We're just very grateful to be part of Lift and to see just all the people and the lives that are changed. And we know this can be a difficult time for many people, but we just hope that this year you'll maybe for the first time experience some real connection and joy that makes a big difference in your life this Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, y'all. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And wherever you are today, may you feel a sense of belonging. We hope that this time has reminded you that you're not alone. There's a place for you here. From all of us at Time with Tim, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you for joining us on the Time with Tim podcast. If you'd like to share your own experiences or have questions, feel free to email us at podcasts@timfletcher.ca. Want to learn more about complex trauma? Subscribe to Tim Fletcher's YouTube channel for past lectures and his Friday night Tim Talks. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Looking for more support? We offer programs and courses to help with healing complex trauma and recovering from addictions. Visit timfletcher.ca to learn more or send us an inquiry. We're here to support you. Until we meet again, take care and thank you for letting us be a part of your healing journey.